Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars, and it's time for a Luthier's Quick Tip.
If you'd like to help support this channel, visit eguitarplans.com and buy a plan. Now on with the video.
In today's episode of Luthier Quick Tips, I'm going to talk about Stearate sandpaper versus non-Stearate sandpaper. What's the difference, and do you need to be concerned about this? The short answer is no, you really don't. There was a time years ago, because of how Stearate sandpaper was made, where you had to be concerned about it, especially if you were going to be finishing your guitar with a water-based finish. As more and more guitar builders are migrating from solvent finishes to water-based finishes, that becomes a bit of a concern because the companies that manufacture the water-based finishing products will often tell you don't use a Stearate treated sandpaper to sand the finish. And the reason is the Stearate treatment can react with the water-based finishes that you're using, and it can cause adhesion issues. However, technology marches on and times have changed, and the way that Stearate sandpaper is made isn't going to cause the same kind of problems that it used to cause. Now let me explain what a Stearate sandpaper is. Basically, it's just a regular sheet or disc of sandpaper that's been treated with a substance that they call stearate. And what that is, it's a lubricant. And that lubricant can help prevent dust generated during the sanding process from clogging up the paper. It'll still clog, but not as quickly. So you can sand longer and get a better quality finish with a Stearate treated sandpaper than a non-Stearate sanded or treated paper. Now the problem is, Stearate sandpapers have become so popular, that's just about the only kind of sandpaper you can find anymore. It's getting increasingly difficult to find a non-Stearated treated sandpaper. However, as I said, the technology has changed, and the way it's manufactured means that today's Stearate treated sandpaper is made differently than it was, 5-10 years ago. So instead of just depositing a powdered lubricant onto the surface, which can be left on the surface that you're sanding, they're actually using a lubricant which is embedded into resins and then bonded to the paper, so it's not going to come loose and contaminate the surface that you're spraying. So as long as you're using a modern Stearate treated sandpaper, you're okay. You shouldn't have to worry about it causing problems with your water-based finish if that's what you're using. With solvent-based finishes, it's not an issue because the solvent breaks down the lubricant and prevents it from having any effect on the finish that is being applied. But with the water-based, it used to be that it would cause a problem. So as long as you're using a modern Stearate treated sandpaper, you should be okay. Also, if you are sanding raw wood, it's a good idea, when you're using a Stearate treated sandpaper, to thoroughly clean the surface of the wood. And you can do that with denatured alcohol and products like that. And that'll get rid of most of that, any Stearate residue that might be left behind on the wood. If you're sanding between applications of clear coat, however, I would recommend using a state-of-the-art, latest, greatest Stearate treated sandpaper. And if you're concerned about that, another option is to use products such as these new net type sandpapers like Abranet. And those are typically not treated with a Stearate as far as I'm aware of. So you should be safer with that. Once, however, you have completely finished clear coating and you're ready to level sand, there's no reason not to use a Stearate because you're not going to be applying any more clear coats over the top of that. So you should be safe to use a Stearate treated sandpaper to level the surface before you buff it out. Just remember, if you have any issues during the level sanding process and are going to have to go back in and spray an additional clear coat, you really need to clean that surface thoroughly just to play it safe. But I wouldn't worry too much about what manufacturers are saying when it comes to not using a Stearate treated sandpaper with their water-based products. I think what they're mostly concerned about is that folks who would be using a Stearate treated sandpaper, maybe grabbing a sheet of sandpaper that's been sitting in their shop for 10 years. So they just want to be, they want to cover the bases that way. So that's this week's quick tip. Stearate treated sandpapers are a fantastic product. They definitely work really well in preventing the sandpaper from clogging and letting you sand longer, more efficiently, and to a higher quality. And there's no reason really to worry about using them with water-based finishes as long as you're using a modern, state-of-the-art Stearated treated sandpaper. All right, so that's it for this week's Luthier's Quick Tip. As always, click the like button. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Check the description maybe. I might post some links down there to some sandpapers that I recommend. And as always, I encourage you to visit eguitarplans.com, purchase a plan to help support my efforts here on YouTube. And if you don't already subscribe to my channel and really enjoy watching videos on building and repairing guitars, hit that subscribe button, click the bell for notifications. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.